make a Jack Skellington pumpkin. I had to make another one this year, but I wanted to teach you how you can make him too. What kind of crochet channel would this be if I didn't make some little crochet pumpkins? I'm going to teach you how to make these pumpkins any size that you want. I just wanted to make little ones just for the sake of getting this video out before Christmas. If you want to make pumpkins to make little keychains or a big giant pumpkin like the size of old Jack here, you can make a crochet pumpkin this size as well. So let's get into it. Okay, so I'm here with the color yarn that I'm using for the body of the pumpkin. You want to first make your tail end quite long because we're going to use this tail piece to sew the pumpkin together, and then go ahead and create a slip knot. And your starting chain is going to be as many as you want. So you want to make your chain about the height of what you want your pumpkin to be, but it does squash down, so maybe take 1/3 off of that. So whatever you want your height of your pumpkin to be, add another 1/3 of chains. I'm just going to make a little small guy here just so that we have something to use as a guide. So I'm going to chain probably 15. But go ahead and make your chain as high as you want your pumpkin to be, plus 1/3, because it does shrink by about that much. So once you've done your chain, I will meet you back for our first row. Once you've finished your chain, you want to turn your work over, and you can see that we have these little ridges or these little bumps on the opposite side of the chain. We're going into these bumps with a single crochet in each of them. And this is what you should have when you finish that row of single crochets all the way along. From here, go ahead and chain 1, turn your work, and then we're working single crochets into the back loop of every stitch. So you can see a little V here. We usually go through both, but from here we're doing back loop only, pull through 2, single crochets through every single back loop, and this creates that little ridge kind of textured effect for our pumpkin. So go ahead and take back loop single crochets all the way to the very end, and I will meet you back for the next row. I'm nearing the end of my row, so a good tip to do here is count how many stitches you have. So for me, I ended up having a total of 16. So each time I take my single crochets, I want to make sure that I've done 16. So making sure that you also get this last one here, otherwise your work can end up like kind of coming in a decrease because you haven't made enough. So make sure that you're counting your stitches if you need to, or just making sure that your ends are turning out nice and straight. Onto this next row, we're going to chain 1, turn your work, and making sure you're going into this first stitch here, back loops again only, with single crochets. And this is what you're going to do for all of your rows. So to work out how many rows of these to make, your rows work out to be 3 times the length of the width of the chain that you have. So whatever chain you have, do about 3 times that in length for your pumpkin. So this is how you can make your pumpkin as small or as large as you like. But you're just going to continue with this ribbing effect. I think I'm going to probably do about 34 rows like this for my chain of 16. But making sure that you're counting your stitches as you go along, and continue with your back loop single crochets, and I will meet you back once we have completed all of our rows. Alright, so I have just finished my strip of like ribbed single back loop only crochets. I'm gonna teach you some girl math because I want you to be able to make this pumpkin any size that you want, and I know that I even struggled to say what I was saying before with like make it 2/3 bigger than your chain. Your chain will be 1/3 of the size of the length. So I've got some girl math for you. You have your strip. You're going to grab your chain edge, so the width of your little rectangle here, and you're going to place it across your work like this. This means that you've got 2/3 here. And then you want to go fold it once more, and when it reaches the end, this is the size that you want. And this means that you can make your pumpkin as big or as small as you like, as long as you just fold it into 3 like this. That is what you want. So now, once you have the size that you need, go ahead and chain 1. Leave a really long tail end here, or I don't know, I probably go crazy with it because I like more than not enough. And then pull through and pull through tight. Now we'll come back on top because I'll show you how to bring your pumpkin together. You're here with your rectangle piece. You have your 2 tail ends here, and you've left them long enough so that we can sew this little guy together. So go ahead and thread one of your tail ends, and you're going to bring 2 of your corners together, and you're just going to do a simple stitch. You can do whatever stitch you want here. I'm just going to go into these 2 middle loops only, but you can even go through both of them. It honestly doesn't really matter all that much at this point, but go ahead and sew all the way until you get to the very end. And once you've sewn this edge together, this is what it should look like. I'm going to finish mine off just by creating a knot first, and then I'm just going to sew this end in just so that my little pumpkin is super secure. You can cut this end, and then we have like I don't know, it's kind of like a little wristband thing happening here, but go ahead, turn this one inside out so that that seam is now on the inside, and then we still have our really long tail end here, which we're going to sew. We're going to start to like close our little pumpkin up now. So from here, you kind of just want to weave in and out of all of these stitches along the top. It doesn't have to be perfect. I think the funnest thing about making these plushies or these little ornaments or these toys is that you can have so much room for error. So you can just go ahead and bring your needle in and out through the whole top, and then I will show you what to do when you come back to the beginning. Alright, I've made my way back to the beginning. If you're kind of like, oh, I can't even see where I started again, you can kind of just pull, and you can see there's here is my thread, and then the starting point is here, and here is my little knot. So I've made my way back to the beginning. From here, just go ahead and pull this yarn until it closes tight. And then from here, you do want to close up this hole as much as you can. So I still have my needle attached here, and I'm just going to go across to the other side and bring my yarn through, and I'm just going to do this a few times just in random spots. It's nothing fancy, but I'm just gonna keep going across opposite sides until this is fairly shut. All right, so I've closed my pumpkin. This is what it looks like. And then from here, I'm actually just going to do just a little knot to make sure that it's nice and secure. And then I'm going to just feed this yarn back to the inside of my pumpkin because it doesn't matter anyway. And it can stay in here. Cool. So you have this little thing. If you've made a beanie, I've actually never made a beanie, but I assume that it's kind of similar to this. From here, you're going to use your stuffing and you're just going to fill up your little pumpkin here. Okay, my pumpkin is filled. So now you want to grab your yarn once more, thread your needle, and I don't really want it attached to the yarn because I just find it a little hard. So I'm just gonna make a really long string here. Go ahead and insert into one edge. And I'm just gonna tie this. And we can hide that on the inside. Once you've attached your yarn, go to the opposite side of your pumpkin and pull through. And then we're doing the same thing that we did at the bottom here, where we're going to weave our needle in and out along the top edge of our pumpkin until you come back to the start, because then we can close him up. I've gone ahead and weaved along the whole top of the pumpkin here. Same thing as before. You want to go ahead and pull tight. And then we're going to sew opposite ends until our pumpkin comes together and is closed. Here I am, my pumpkin is closed. If you want like the little, I don't know, what do you call that? Like his little dimple so that it kind of squeezes in the center. If you want it round, stay here, keep it like that. But if you want that little dimple, you can go into the bottom of your pumpkin, go all the way through to the top, then skip a little bit, but then go back into that center and come all the way through to the other side once more. And then you can give him a little bit of a squeeze here, and then you've got that little, I don't know, what do you call this? Okay, it's got more of a pumpkin shape like this, I feel. But from here, you're pretty much finished, so you can go ahead. I like to just create a knot, and then I feed this all the way back through to the other side, where I will pull this tight and cut the yarn so that that tail end will be in the inside here somewhere safe. But this is your pumpkin body. Now we're going to make the stem together. If you've made my long maxi skirt, it is the same stitch or same kind of chain style as the drawstring for that. So you need 2 pieces of yarn here. I've just created a slip knot and I've attached it to my hook. One yarn is going in front of your hook. The back yarn is coming around and to the front. This yarn that goes from the back around to the front is being pulled through all the way. So again, front yarn comes over and back yarn comes around and in front, and that yarn is being pulled through 2 loops. So go ahead and just, it's not going to take long, maybe 4 or 5 stitches, and this is going to be your pumpkin stem. So I think that's long enough. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take both pieces of yarn over and pull through that loop. I'm going to pull that yarn all the way through and pull tight. I want to make sure that my pumpkin is super secure, so I'm actually just going to feed these yarns back through the chain. All right, and then I've got this little stem here. So now, because I've got it long enough, and you can make this as long as you want, you're just gonna have to kind of like eyeball it and see what kind of stem you want. I am going to bring these two pieces, tail ends, through my needle. I'm actually going to go back through this knot of the starting chain because I want my pumpkin stem to be just a little bit shorter, but I wanted it to be thick. So this is what I'm doing. I'm bringing these yarns through that starting chain so that I have a little ball like this. And I'm going to use these yarn pieces to attach to my pumpkin. So work out what you want the bottom and what you want the top to be. I'm happy with this being the bottom, so I'm just going to go into the top here, and I'm just going to sew my stem into the center here with these tail ends. And I'm going to knot it in a few times to make sure it's really secure. And then once your stem is secure, just like before, you can always just place your needle all the way through and pull those ends in so that it's nice and secure. Here is my pumpkin next to my little ghostly. If you want to know how to make this little ghostly, I will put a link up the top here. But let's go ahead and make our jack-o'-lantern. Alright you guys, we've moved outside because obviously I'm not about to carve a pumpkin on my white rug. If you live in Australia, I don't know if you have this problem in the States, probably not, but in Australia, Halloween is kind of only really starting to get some traction now. So we have these like special pumpkins that you can buy from Woolworths, and I don't know, I have a better one with the sticker still attached, but you can get these carving pumpkins from there, and I recommend these because they're a little bit safer than carving a cooking pumpkin. I really do wish that it was bigger here though, and we had those pumpkins, because I assume, I don't know, maybe some of my American friends can tell me here, but you know, when you're carving your pumpkin, are you using the insides of that pumpkin to create like your pumpkin pies and your pumpkin drinks and things like that? Because this one, don't eat it. This is for carving only. So here are my tools. Obviously, we're using a knife. If you're young, a disclaimer here, please ask an adult to help you. I don't want to be responsible for any accidents. We are carving a pumpkin. Have someone help you if you need it. First thing you want to do is find the side that you like best. I think, I don't know, maybe this side is kind of flat, but he's got these marks. I'm going to put his face, here. I have my pen, and your Jack Skellington, his eyes are kind of like a teardrop shape. I like to draw his face, and you can use like a rubbing alcohol or a nail polish remover to remove it later. But go ahead and just kind of gently map out the middle. There's my cross. And his eyes, they kind of start by creating a little upside down C, go up and around and back to that starting point. It's like a sideways teardrop. You're gonna put this teardrop on the other side of your pumpkin in the same. This doesn't have to be perfect. This is just your rough outline. And I actually recommend make your outline smaller than what you want, because you can carve on the outside, and then that way you don't need to rub out so much. But there's his eyes. Yeah. Then he's got a little bit of a mark here and here. Don't forget his eyebrows along here. Jack's nose is kind of just like two little circles like this, so you can just go ahead and do that. And then we'll have his mouth probably along here, and his mouth is just stitches, so that looks good to me. From here you can place your pumpkin down, you can look at it and make sure that you're happy with placements of everything. I am super happy with this. If you need to go in and like fix a few things, go ahead and fix a few things, but this is just our rough outline. So now for the top, you can just cut a circle and you can remove it that way. I like to be a little bit fancier, so I'm going to show you what I do here. That's where all of his guts are gonna go. But for me, this is how I always cut the top. I like to make like a little star. And so I insert my knife and I pull it out. I find that corner that I just cut and I insert the knife again. I'm just pushing. I'm not even like doing anything too crazy. I find that edge, push down, find this corner, push in, and I'm gonna do this all the way around. So it kind of is like a little star pattern. Make sure you line your edges up like this. So I've cut my shape all the way around. From here, you should just be able to pull out the top. There it is there. There's my top. You are keeping this, so put it to the side. Now it's time to gut your pumpkin. So I just have a normal spoon here and I'm going to get rid of all of the insides. It's really hot, so I didn't want Chucky to get overheated, but he never leaves my side. So he is, oh, hello! You can't come outside, Bubba, sorry, I've disturbed him now. Sit there. Oh, I'm still going, I'm just removing the insides here. Okay, and I'm just using, this is like a measuring cup, and I just kind of scrape the insides of the pumpkin down until it's not so thick. And I don't know, again, I'm so curious, guys, any of my American friends, can you tell me if this is the same texture of pumpkin that you would be using at home? I just want to know how behind we are over here. But anyway, go ahead and gut your pumpkin and I'll meet you back. All right, this is the inside of my pumpkin. He's looking pretty good. But let's go ahead and start carving out his face. We're ready to carve out his face. You've already got all of your outline here. So starting with the eye, you're just going to follow along. You can always switch knives if you need to, if you need something that's a little smaller. I'm just going to make do with this one here. But go ahead and carve out his eye. It looks so dangerous. Like I'm looking at what's happening on the screen here. And I'm like, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like a very nice thing to do, does it? But I do this every year and I have so much fun. All right, I've got one eye there. I'll show you how to clean this up and make it a little bit smoother. But go ahead and do the other eye. And I also kind of feel like what I'm saying or what I'm doing is pretty obvious. You're now just going to follow along the design that you cut, just roughly, and then I'll show you how to clean up all of these edges. When it comes to something thin, like his eyebrow here, you can just go ahead and make a few slits here, and then you can just make them really skinny by basically following along, and that's going to be enough. Like when you put a candle in this, like that's going to be more than enough. For his nose, because his nose is so small, I'm just going to insert that knife once and then kind of bring it around. And that's going to be like more than enough as well for his nose. And same for that side. So see how my knife like slid along here? It's not going to affect the way that the pumpkin looks, but just make sure that you only kind of get that piece. Alright, time for his smile. Why so serious? From here, go ahead and just make your line across your pumpkin so that he has a nice smile, and then create another smaller one fairly close to that line that you just made, just so that some light can come through. There's his smile. And then the stitches are going to be super easy because you're just going to insert your knife and then kind of take it at an angle. There it is. And you're going to do this all the way across and play around with heights of your stitches, play around with placement, play around with turning your knife the other way and just putting one up top or one at the bottom. But just make different stitches all the way across. Alright, I went ahead and I completed his mouth. This is what it looks like. Now for his eye, I said that we would make it like a little more round. So you just want to go ahead and insert a spoon and just kind of work that spoon around on the inside of his eye. I swear this looks like so, man, I don't even know. It just makes me seem really aggressive. I never actually thought that it would be like this. Maybe this is what I look like all the time. But you're just going to go ahead and kind of scrape at the edges until it's nice and smooth. Sometimes you need to go from the inside and make the inside like a little bit less fleshy. But go ahead and do this all the way around until his face is as you want it. This is definitely a different kind of tutorial than what we're all probably used to. Okay guys, I'm happy, Jack's happy. Now I'm just going to use some acetone, or you can use nail polish remover, or you can even use some rubbing alcohol, but this is just from what I use to do my nails, and I'm just going to use a little bit of this to get rid of any pen marks that I made on his face. Do you like him? I don't think you should eat that. That is it. You have your Jack Skellington pumpkin head. Oh my gosh, is that funny? Does it look like Jackie Coon? You've got your fancy little top here that you can just place back in. I will show you what he looks like tonight out front my house, and he'll complete the look. And then you also have cute little pumpkins or big pumpkins or little keychain pumpkins, whatever size you make these guys, to go with your inside decorations. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you want to see more pumpkin designs, I have a few up my sleeve, so leave a comment down below if you want to see more. But I'll see you in the next video.